Hey netizens, Srirag here, welcoming you all to Digi Mastery Labs. We will continue with our absolute beginner course in Unity Visual Scripting by creating this game. So, let us begin. In part 2 of this series, we will talk about Unity Visual Scripting basics, and then we will create the player character movement. If you already know about the basics of Unity Visual Scripting, you can jump straight into your preferred section using the timecodes. I have included the timecodes in the description. Let us start by creating a new scene. We have two options to select from: empty built-in and basic built-in. Empty, as the name suggests, is a blank scene with no game objects. In our case, we need to select the basic built-in. It contains a camera and a direction light. Click on Create. Navigate to File and save the scene from the menu bar. Name it Scene 1. Save it to the My Project folder which we created earlier. As you can see from the hierarchy window, we have the main camera and the direction light game objects added to our scene. Select the main camera. You will be able to see the main camera viewport at the bottom right corner of the scene window. Think of this camera game object as a physical video camera that will be used to capture and display the game world to the player. Need not worry about the settings that you see in the inspector window as of now. We will discuss them later. Now select the direction light. Direction light can be compared to a sunlight. You can position the direction light anywhere in the scene. The position doesn't matter and it will illuminate all the game objects that are present in our scene. When I move the direction light in the scene, you can see that some values are changing in the inspector under the transform section. These represent the position, rotation, and scale values of the direction light game object present in the scene. As I mentioned, the position and scale don't matter for direction light. However, the rotation determines how the shadows are cast in the scene. Below the transform is the light section. Here we have options to control the color, intensity, and shadow types of our direction light. We will use this during our level design. You can click on the question mark button at the top right of a section to know more about it. It opens up the corresponding Unity manual page. Since we are creating a rollerball game, we need a platform to begin with. In the hierarchy window, click on the plus icon. Select the cube under the 3D object section. Name the cube Platform. Double-click on it in the hierarchy. It will position the scene view to that game object in the scene window. In your scene window, click and hold on the left mouse button to pan. You can use the mouse scroll wheel to move forward and backward. You can also use the arrow keys on the keyboard for navigation. With the box selected, navigate to the Inspector tab. Click on the three dots right to the Transform section. Click on Reset. This will reset the position of the game object to 0, 0, 0 along the X, Y, and Z axis. This is called World Origin. Double-click on the platform to position the scene view again. If you take a look at the Inspector window, there are various sections available for our selected cube other than transforms. They are called components. Each component represents a particular property of that game object. Now, locate the Mesh Renderer component. Uncheck it in the inspector. In the scene view, the cube disappears with only a green outline left behind. This mesh renderer component is used to render the geometry of the game object. The mesh renderer gets the geometry data from the mesh filter component at the top. In our case, it is the cube. Mesh renderer then renders this data in the scene based on the transform position. The green outline that you see in the scene is the collider for our cube. This is a physics component for the game object. The physics component is required for the game object to interact with other objects in the game world. For example, for the ball to roll on the platform, both the ball and the platform need to have a collider. There are different types of colliders available in Unity. Navigate to the menu bar, click on Components, and under the Physics section, you can see different types of colliders. The basic ones are the box, sphere, and capsule colliders. For this project, we need not look at other colliders. If you look at the inspector for our cube, you can notice the box collider component. You can edit the size of the collider by clicking on the Edit Collider button. Hold the left mouse button down on one of the squares called Control Handles. Drag the mouse to resize it. For now, I will undo the changes by clicking on Ctrl+C on the keyboard. You can also undo the latest changes by navigating to the Edit section on the menu bar. Now, click on the Edit Collider button again to come out of the edit mode. Also, activate the mesh renderer component by checking it. Zoom out a little in the scene view using the mouse scroll button. Click on the Scale button in the top left of the toolbar. The arrows will change to a box in the scene window. The red, green, and blue color represents the X, Y, and Z coordinates. This is also represented in the top right of the scene window. Click and drag on any of these boxes to resize the cube in that coordinate. You can also use the Scale option under the Transform in the Inspector window. Type in a value of 100, 5, and 50. Use the F key on the keyboard to position the viewport. Now we will add color to the platform. Navigate to the menu bar, open the Assets section. Under Create, choose the Material option. Name it Platform. Click on the material in the project window. This material asset is used to display the appearance of a game object. For example, what is the color of the game object? Is the surface rough or smooth, or is it glossy or matte? You can notice all these options in the Inspector window when our material is selected. The material is always associated with a shader. The shader is a program that runs on the GPU or graphics processing unit of your computer. You can see that the shader is set to the Universal Render Pipeline Lit. If you click on the shader section, you will get all the shaders that are provided by default in Unity. We will keep the shader in the Universal Render Pipeline Lit itself. Navigate to the Surface Input section. Click on the color box next to the base map. Choose a color that you want. Drag and drop this material to the platform game object in the scene. Save your scene by using the File Save option in the menu bar or by using the shortcut Ctrl+S. It is a good practice to save your scene in between. If Unity crashes, you will not lose your work. Click on the Select tool in the toolbar to come out of the Scale mode. Now it's a small task for you to try out for yourself. You can go ahead and create 4 pillars at each corner of your scene. Use the same techniques that I have explained earlier. You can pause the video if you want and try it out for yourself, or you can follow along with me. Create a new cube and name it Pillar 01. Move it along the y-axis to see it properly. Create a new material and name it Pillar. Select a color that you prefer. Drag and drop the material to the pillar game object. Select the Scale tool again from the toolbar. Scale it along the X, Y, and Z axis. Move the pillar to the corner of our platform. Duplicate the pillar game object by navigating to the Edit section in the menu bar. Click on Duplicate from the drop-down or use the shortcut key Ctrl-D. Duplicate it 4 times and place it in each corner of your platform. Save the scene. Now, we will create our player game object, which is a ball. Add a sphere game object to the scene. This time, we will use the menu bar and not the hierarchy plus button. Select the game object section from the menu bar. Navigate to the 3D object section. Click on Sphere. Name it Player Ball. Reset the position in the inspector. Move it slightly to the top of the platform. Increase the scale to 2 on all axes. Add a new material. Name it Player. Select a color that you like. Assign it to the Player Ball game object. Save the scene. Now, we will create the player movement using visual scripting. Select the Player Ball game object. In the Inspector window, click on the Add Component button. From the drop-down, scroll to the Visual Scripting section. Select the Script Machine component. Now we can see in the inspector that a script machine component and a variable component are added. Under the script machine, you have 2 options to select from in the source section. They are Embed and Graph. The embed type, as the name suggests, is embedded in the game object script machine itself, while graph type is a separate asset referenced by the script machine. We will stick with the graph type for now. As I mentioned earlier, for using this source, we will have to create a separate graph asset. Click on the New button next to the Graph section. Navigate to the My Project folder. Name it Player Ball. Click on Save. Now, you can see that the Player Ball asset is added to the Graph section. It is a good practice to add a title and summary for your state machine graph. I will name it Player Graph and player-related logics. These are not mandatory though. Save your scene. Now, click on the Edit Graph button. It will open up the Player Ball graph in the Script Graph window. Double-click using the left mouse button to maximize the window. You can click and hold on the middle mouse button to pan across the window. Use Ctrl and mouse scroll wheel to zoom in and out. Click on the Overview button at the top right to reset all the units to the viewport. The 2 blocks that you see in the Script Graph window are called units in Visual Scripting. Units are the most basic element of computation in visual scripting. For example, they can listen to events, they can get and set variables, they can invoke methods in a game object, and many more. The default units present in the graph window are start and update event. Start event unit will execute only once when we run the scene where the graph is present. Update event, on the other hand, gets executed every frame once in play mode. The first thing we can perform is by printing a message to the Unity's console. The arrow in each unit represents the flow of the graph. Click and drag from the arrowhead using the left mouse button in the Start Event unit. Release the button. A selection box appears. You can click on the right mouse button to come out of the selection. Click and drag again. In the selection box, type debug since we are going to print a message to the console. Select the debug log option. Click on the Graph Inspector button on the left panel of the script graph. Select the debug log unit. You can see the information about that unit in the left panel. It says that the debug log unit takes a string or an object that can be converted into a string as an input. Click and drag from the input circle and release the button. The selection box automatically lists some of the variables available. We will go to the string literal since we want to print a message. Type any message in the text box. Come out of the full screen window. Now click on the play button. If your game window starts in full screen mode, click on three dots at the right corner. Uncheck the full screen window. Then navigate to the console window. If there are warnings getting listed in it, click on the toggle warning button at the right corner. Now you can see that our message got printed. It is printed once since the control flow went from start event. Come out of the play mode by clicking on the play button. Open the script graph window again. You can select both of these units by holding Ctrl and left mouse click. Now click on the right mouse button. Select Duplicate Selection. Place the selection next to the Update unit. Connect the control flow. Change the message. Come out of the full screen and press play. Open the console window. You can see that the second message is getting printed in each frame. Come out of the play mode. Now we will delete the messages. Select all the message units. Click on the right mouse button and delete the selection. We will add the player movement functionality now. Select our player ball game object in the hierarchy. In the scene view, observe the direction of the axis arrows. Notice that if we apply a force in the x-axis, the ball will roll horizontally. Similarly, if we apply a force in the z-axis, the ball will roll vertically. We can ignore the y-axis. To apply this force to a game object, we need to add a physics component to it. In the inspector, add a component called rigid body. Rigid body enables the game object to be controlled by physics. We can apply force and torque, and the game objects can be influenced by gravity. We will keep the default values of the rigid body. Now, we will open the player graph. We will not use start or update events. For physics calculations, we should use another event called fixed update. Right-click and add a unit, fixed update. Now we have to add a force in the X and C direction. Drag out and search for force. Locate rigid body, add force with a mode. Click on the mode option. You have different options like force, acceleration, impulse, and velocity change. Force mode uses the mass of the rigid body while applying the force. Acceleration mode ignores this mass. The other two modes are used for instant force change. We will choose the force mode for our project. Now, we have to calculate the horizontal and vertical input from our keyboard. For example, we will use the up and down arrow keys or the W or S keys for vertical movement. And we will use left or right arrow keys or the A and D keys for the horizontal movement. To see where these inputs are managed, navigate to Edit, Project Settings, select the Input Manager. Here, you can see all the axes which we can use for our input. Open horizontal and vertical axes. We have to use the name of these axes in our player graph. Open our player graph again. Click and drag from X. Search for input. Inside input, we can see different options. Choose Get Axis, Axis Name. As we discussed earlier, the X-axis is for horizontal movement. So type in horizontal with an uppercase H. Duplicate the Get Axis unit. Connect it to the Z-axis. We need vertical input on the Z-axis. So type in vertical. Get back to our scene. Adjust the camera transform so that we can see the ball and platform properly. Save your scene. Now click on play. If you click on the arrow keys or the WASD keys, the ball will start rolling. But the force is very minimal and movement is slow. We have not added any force value and the default value is 1. Come out of the play mode. Open the player graph window. We will now multiply our default value with another value. Click and drag from the X again. Choose the multiply option. Connect the horizontal input value to the A value. We have to multiply it by B. Let us give the B value a value of 10. Similarly, we will do the same for C axis. Drag and choose multiply. Connect our vertical input to A. Multiply it with a B value of 10. Now, if you play the project, you will be able to move the ball much faster. As the last step, we will remove our hard-coded values from the graph. We have hard-coded the B value for both horizontal and vertical input. It is a good practice to expose these in a variable. In Unity Visual Scripting, we have different types of variables available. Under the Blackboard section, we have graph, object, scene, app, and saved variables. We will look at all types while we go through the project. For now, select the object variable. You can see from the description that these variables are shared across the current game object. If you have to access this variable from outside the graph, you will have to access the game object first. We will add two variables. Name the first one horizontal force. Select the type float. Add a value of 10. Name the second vertical force. Select the type float again. Add a value of 10. Now, drag and drop these variables into our graph. Connect it to the B values. Save your project. Click on the play button again. The ball still rolls without an issue. By this, we have completed the second part of our project. So to conclude, we created a platform and playable ball. We discussed components and various physics actors. Then we discussed Unity visual scripting basics. We also discussed the input manager. And we completed our player movement. In part 3 of this series, we will create the camera movement and timer functionality. Thank you for watching this video. Please do like, subscribe and hit the bell icon to our channel and support our initiative. More such contents will be made available in the future. Thanks again.